machines business, putting 25,000 pounds into business bank account. ठीक है जी, accounting equation के हिसाब से if you tell me what's the impact of this, the double impact of this thing, there is increase in the asset of bank and there is increase in the capital, right? So the two accounts that will involve over here, which particular asset is increasing? Hmm? A particular within particular within the current assets, which particular asset is increasing? The bank. So the first T account, now we'll make T accounts. T accounts, as I mentioned, the bank account, I'll just write bank, okay, and I'll draw a T below it. Okay, ji. And the other account that would be impacted over here besides bank, it would be the capital account. So I'll write capital and I'll make a T below it as well. Okay, ji. Now, how much is the entry by? It's by 25,000. Is the bank increasing or decreasing? Increasing. How do we record increase of asset as per rules? Debit or credit? Debit. So the left hand side, this would be the debit side, and I'll write 2500 over here. So I have debited the bank account. And on the for the capital, what was the rule? If there is the capital increasing or decreasing? First, first increasing, and increase in capital is debited or credited? Credit. So I'll write on the credit side of the bank account 2500. The left hand side, this side is called debit for all T accounts, this side is called credit for all T accounts. You don't have to write it, I'm writing it just to show you. For all the T accounts, whether it's bank, machinery, cash, debtors, anything at all, the right hand side of the T account, that is the credit side, the left hand side is the debit side. Acha. Now that we have noted the amounts, what we'll do, we'll write the name of the accounts as well. Capital account was credited because which account was debited? So in capital, I will write bank, and in bank account, this account was debited because which account was credited? Capital. So here I'll write capital. Okay. And just behind these names, I should be writing the dates. It happened on May 1. So on top, I'll just write 2008 for both of them, 2008. This happened on 1 May. This happened on May 1. All right. Then the next transaction is, so the rules of double entry are that the total amount by which an account has been debited, it should be equal to the amount by which the accounts get credit. So the sum of debit and credit should be the same. Number one, each entry, each transaction, it will have two impacts, at least two impacts, two or more we will see later. For now we'll handle two. There would be a debit impact, there would be a credit impact. One account will be debited, one account will be credited, and the accounts debited or credited, they would be as per the rules that we have studied. Okay. All right. The next transaction is that we bought equipment on credit from house supplies. So what's happening over here? We bought an equipment. So our asset of equipment is increasing. And since we bought this good on credit from this particular business, house supplies, our liability is also increasing. Agreed? Acha ji. So we'll make again two accounts. One for equipment. Acha, we make a new account each time when there isn't already an account. If there were already an account, we would have posted the entry in that one. If there isn't an account, we'll make a new one. Okay, since the asset involved over here is equipment and there isn't already an account for equipment, I'll make a new one for equipment. I write equipment, I draw the T below it, and then there is house supplies. I write T below it. ठीक है जी, meaning I make a T account. अच्छा जी, the equipment, it will be debited because the asset is increasing by how much? By 12,000. So on the debit side, I write 12,000. For house supplies, the liability is increasing. The increase in liability is credited. So I write it on the credit side, 12,000. Okay. House supplies, it got credited because equipment was debited. So I write equipment over here. And equipment, it got debited because house supplies got credited. So I write house supplies over here. And then the dates, May 3 and May 3. Acha ji, for the fourth one, I mean done, the two transactions. Okay, could you please read the third transaction? So we had 2,500 that we put it in the bank, the first day, and now we are withdrawing 150 in the form of cash. So what's happening is that the asset of bank is decreasing and the asset of cash is increasing. So bank, I already have an account. I won't make a new one, but cash, I don't already have an account, so I'll make an account for cash now. ठीक है जी, asset of cash is increasing by how much? By 150. And the asset of, so if the, since cash is an asset, increase is recorded as debit, and bank is also an asset, decrease in asset is recorded as credit, so I credit the bank. The bank, it got credited because cash was debited, so here I write cash, and in cash I write bank. Okay, and then I write the dates, May 4 and May 4. Done. ठीक है जी, next transaction, bought a van paying by check. Did you put 2,500 or 25,000? It was 25,000 that he put in the bank in the first day. I erroneously wrote 2,500, so 25,000, and capital also because double entry, so both. This would also become 25,000 and this also 25,000. Corrected? ठीक है जी, ठीक है. Next transaction. Next transaction. Bought van paying by check 6,800. So asset of van is increasing. Since I'm paying by check, asset of bank would decrease. The asset which increases, the account will be debited. The asset which decreases, the account will be credited. Bank, I already have an account. For van, I do not have one. So I make an account for van. Acha ji, how much? 6,800. And bank credit by how much? 6,800. Acha ji, in bank, I'll write van. And in van, I'll write bank. This happens on May 7. May 7. Here I'll write May 7. Done? Alright, so some of the equipment that I bought for 12,000, I felt I didn't need. So sold some equipment that was not needed at cost 1,100. So, and we sold it on credit. So how would this one be accounted for? There is an asset of equipment which is decreasing. Decrease in asset, we credit this account. And do we get cash or bank against it? No, we sell it to the person on credit. So this person, he agrees to pay us at a later date. So this will become an account receivable. There would be an account receivable. He'll become a debtor to the business. So I'll make an account with the name. These account receivables and payables, debtors, creditors, their T accounts are made with their names, like we did for house supplies. Here we do for J Rose. J Rose. अच्छा जी, J Rose. So equipment we are selling for how much? 1100 at cost. 1000. Oh, let me see. 1100. Equipment credit. J Rose debit 1100 because receivable from J Rose is increasing. In J Rose I write equipment, and in equipment I write J Rose. And when does this happen? May 10. जी, any confusion this far? ठीक है जी. अच्छा, not only that, we sold some extra equipment to J Rose. We also returned some of the equipment to house supplies. So when we bought this equipment on credit, what happened was that the asset increased as well as the liability. So when we are returning the equipment that we no longer need, since we haven't made the payment yet, it would decrease the liability. So the asset is decreasing and also the liability is decreasing. When asset decreases, we credit the account, and when liability decreases, we what do? We debit the account. Excellent. So equipment. How much are we returning? 2,300. So equipment credit 2,300. We write over here house supplies, and the date happens is May 21. And house supplies, it would debit 2,300. Why? Because of equipment again, and the date is May 21. No questions? Acha ji, tell me, how would we do the accounting for the next one, if you could please explain. 28th May. Hmm. 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 So the asset, excellent. The asset of receivable is decreasing because he's paying. So once he pays, he wouldn't have to pay. So that account of receivable is decreasing. And when we receive money, that would increase the account. If you're receiving it in the form of cash, the asset of cash would increase, or we would debit that account. Or if you're receiving in the form of check, the asset of bank would increase. So he is here paying by he or she. J Rose is a male or female? Do men have Rose as their surnames? I don't know. Could be. You never know. Uh, why haven't you seen that meme? I'll send it. Just a second. अच्छा जी, तो क्या करना है हमने? We have to credit the J Rose account. J Rose credit 1100 and she pays by check. So will debit the bank on what date? May 28th? May 28th. And then we go to the bank account. Debit side, we write 1100. अच्छा जी 1100 आ गया. Then we'll write J Rose. क्यों आया ये? क्योंकि J Rose. And then the date is May 28th. Okay, madam. Acha ji, you'll also tell me for what happens on May 30th. How do we do accounting for that? Hmm. Excellent. Acha, do remember one thing. Never think that increases debit and decreases credit. Because yes, that's true for assets, but for liabilities, capital, and revenue, that's not true. Okay, so that's heads on, because this is something that confuses students a lot later on if they develop this bad habit of equating debit with increase always. Debit is not always increase. For liabilities, debit is decrease. Acha ji, but correctly identified in this case, a new van is being bought, so both asset increase credit, this would be 4300, and the other asset decrease by how much? 4300. Which asset? The asset of bank. For bank we will write when May 21, May 28, May 30, May 30. And in van account we will write bank, date is May 30th. All right, see, the last one is paid 9700 to house supplies by check. G. How do we do accounting for this one? Hmm. So impact on just assets or asset liability or capital, which accounts would be impacted? Asset and liability. Excellent. What's happening to the asset? G. The asset is decreasing. So the decrease in asset is credited. Which asset? Bank. By how much? By 9700. ठीक है जी. The liability is also decreasing, and the decrease in liability is recorded as a debit entry. So the liability 9700. अच्छा जी, for liability house supplies would mention bank and May 31, May 31. And in the bank account we'll write house supplies and again May 31. ठीक है जी. That's it for this particular question, and hopefully you have learned how to account for the increase and decrease of assets, capital, and liabilities in their respective T accounts. Acha, let's quickly do an exercise. Which one shall we do? We'll do 2.2a right now. Take a few minutes and note down your answers for 2.2a. Which account will be debited, which account will be credited, and we'll soon match these answers. All right? Okay. अच्छा जी, bought lorry for cash. Hmm. What's the asset they are buying? Hmm. Lorry debit, cash credit. We'll make a T account with name Lorry. That would debit, cash credit. Okay, next. Perfect. Elect debit, bank credit. Next. Correct. P login debit, cash credit. Cash debited, lorry credited. Perfect. Next. Office machinery debited, Ultra LTD credited. Correct. Next. Cash debited, A Hill credited. Perfect. G. Bank debit, J cross credit. Correct. Proprietor is the owner of the business, so it's going to be capital credited. Bank debit. Proprietor is the owner of the business, right? That's what proprietor means. Hmm. Hmm. LO. Hmm. 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 200 cash debit and LO credit. Perfect. Last. Deal or debited, cash credited. Excellent. Excellent. Chiranjeev, good job. The remaining 2.1, 3, 4, 5, and 6, if you could attempt as homework. Um, one thing. The other thing is, Hanji, you do this as homework.